Hi there, this is Jane, and in this video I'm going to look at some tips for the Rockschool Grade 3 guitar piece Indecisive. So first of all, let's get the amp settings sorted. So if you look at the walkthrough that's just behind the piece in the book, it tells you how to set your amp. I want a nice heavy distortion sound for this one, with a nice modern gain, nice and high, so we get a nice saturated distorted sound going on there. So once you've got your amp settings sorted, we need to start looking at the tune. Now the first thing we have in this tune is some bar chords. Now a lot of people hate bar chords. I think they're absolutely wonderful things. You've got so much control over when you actually hear the notes from the chord. You can stop them really easily. You've got a lot of control there. So once you can play these power chords, they're great, and you can stick with the same shape. You can move it up and down the neck. Really easy to use once you've got to grips with them. Okay, so we've got C's and F's and G's in here, and we've got two versions of this bar chord. We've got a bar chord that's based on an E major shape, and that's going to be our C chord. We've also got a bar chord that's based on our A major shape, and they're going to be our F and G chords. Okay, so when you're playing these bar chords, make sure that you're using the side of your finger rather, that's closest to your thumb. So I tend to put my finger right on top of the fret, then just lean it backwards and push it down against all the strings. Bring your elbow right into the side of your body. It gives you plenty of power then through your arm and into your finger. Okay, and then you can just place the E shape in front of it, and if you've got that at the 8th fret, that's your C chord. And then when we're going to play this F chord, it's at the same fret, but we're going to use the A-shaped bar chord instead. Now when I play this bar chord, I use a double bar, so I'm just moving my finger down, keeping it on the side of the finger still. Okay, but I'm using my third finger to bar the other strings, which is two strings down, no, one string down, 2 frets higher up. I've got the 4th, the 3rd and the 2nd string, and I'm just using my 3rd finger to do that. If you feel uncomfortable playing it like that, you can always attempt to use your 2nd, 3rd and 4th fingers for that instead. When you've got the G chord, all you're doing is just sliding that shape up. Okay, actually no, we're not even going from the F to the G, we're going from the C straight to the G. So you're going to have to practice that change quite a bit, okay? As long as you remember to keep that finger on the side there, when you're playing the bar, it'll make it that little bit easier. Because we're higher up the neck, it's going to be a bit easier to play these chords than the dreaded F chord, which is down at the 1st fret. Because when you're playing the bar down there, it's really hard. You need a lot of strength in your finger to get that bar there. But further up the neck, the string's a little bit floppier. It makes it a little bit easier. You need to put less pressure on to get those bar chords. So once you've practiced getting those shapes right, then you have to look at the rhythm. We've got some nice snappy rhythms going on here. You're playing on the beat and you're resting on the and of the beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now all I'm doing when I'm doing those rests is just releasing the pressure on my fingers. Keeping my fingers on the chord. If you take them off, you end up with something really messy going on underneath. So you keep your fingers touching the strings, but just release the pressure so the strings aren't touching the frets anymore. And you do that for all those chords that have got rests in between. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I put an extra mute in there when I shouldn't have done. Now what I also do for this, when we've got the quavers coming in, normally at the end of the first line, we've got 3 and 4 on that G. I'm actually playing them all as down strums, which can be quite hard in this piece because it's going at 155 beats a minute, but I think it gives it that, I don't know, that extra punch. Okay, so if you can't quite get your strums fast enough, keep with the down, up, down that you would normally play. But if you can, stick those all down strums in there, because it just gives it a much more snappy feel, I think. So remember to just keep it nice and steady to start off with. Get those bar chords sorted, and then practice releasing the pressure on the strings to get those rests. And once you've got those, that's section A finished. And then we'll move on to section B. Now for this, we've got a lot of muted notes coming in here, so make sure you keep the side of your picking hand on top of the bridge. I'm kind of keeping it half on the bridge and half off the bridge to get a nice chunky sound. And also make sure you're changing between the muted notes, and also there's a few open notes in here as well. So don't forget rather to take that mute off when needed. The rhythms in this section aren't complicated at all. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Okay, so remember those rests and those mutes, and also your vibrato as well. Make sure you're wobbling those notes and you're not bending them too much. There's a... Okay, don't bend it too much. It makes it out of tune, but just give it a nice little wobble there. Keep it nice and even. And then we're going to section C. There's lots of double stops going on here on the top 2 strings. Now, what I tend to do for this is bar my first finger at that 3rd fret to start off with, covering 2 strings there, and I'm using my 3rd finger to play the 5th fret. So you've got a 3 and a 5, okay, on the 1st and 2nd strings. So then once I've done the first bar, I can just take my 3rd finger off and my 1st finger's ready. Now I tend to use my 1st finger all the way through this section, so I will then take the bar up to the 5th fret and put my 2nd finger down on the 6th, the next bar, and move that whole shape up for the 7 and 8. Okay, so I'm just moving that round. Okay, I'm also playing it all with down strums as well. The walkthrough in the book tells you to use down and ups. I prefer downstrokes. It gives me a much more snappy feel. I understand that because the tune is so fast, it might be hard to bring your hand up to get it all as downstrokes. So if you can't do that, just use down and up strokes. Remember to keep it nice and light when you're doing it, and make sure you're not hitting any of the unwanted strings. Okay, so as long as you remember to just move that 1st finger up and down and keep that bar down, it'll keep it nice and neat. Then when you get to the end of the section, you should be on a 5 and a 7, and your 2nd finger's then ready to pop onto that 6 for the little riff at the end. Now section D is pretty much the same as section B, all those muted notes and rests, so make sure you're keeping that palm nice and close to the bridge and keeping the mutes nice and chunky. Exactly the same there. Then you've got your solo in section E. Now we've got 8 bars for this. We're in the key of C major, okay? So C major scale will work really well for this. C major pentatonic will work as well too. I'm tending to use the full C major scale. So we've got one there at the 5th fret. I'm using mainly the top 3 strings for this. I also added in my solo at some point the exact same scale but a full octave higher, so that would be starting at the 17th fret rather than at the 5th, using the same fingerings, okay? And I tend to be walking up those 3 strings, so as long as you know where your C major notes are on the 1st, 2nd and 3rd strings, you'll have a pretty good solo going on here. Keep it nice and melodic, nothing too complicated. I pinched a few ideas from in the tune as well. You've got your, which comes in the next section, and I added that to the solo to help it tie in to that, because it just makes it sound much more in gel with the actual tune. So as long as you know where the notes are in those 3 strings for your C major, C, D, E, F, G, A, B and C, you should be okay with that. Just remember to keep it nice and melodic. And then we have that little riff that comes in when the solo finishes. There's some nice pull-offs there. Oh. Then it slides up to the 8th fret. And then we slide into that 5th fret and then bob up straight to the 8th. I use my 1st finger for both of those. And then we've got a pre-bend. So what you've got to remember to do here is bend that 10th fret before you hit it. And then pull off to the 8th. Okay, it's only a half bend. So you're just going to make it sound like that D sharp note. Or E flat note. Just remember, don't hit it until you've actually bent the string first. So if I just play that section for you nice and slow so you can hear how that bend sounds. finishes off with a couple of power chords at the end. Nice and staccato. I just use the side of my picking hand just to mute the strings for that section. Now you've got the bass and drum solo, sticking with some nice easy power chords here. Keep those rests nice and neat. And then you've got the second time ending on this as well. So don't forget to go into that second time ending. And then it goes back to section C again, which they've called section G for this next time through. So remember to keep that bar down on the first and second strings, and just slide that first finger up and add the extra finger as required for the chord that's needed there. Remember, if you can, do it all as downstrokes, but if it's too fast, use down and ups. Just make sure you're not hitting any extra strings in there as well. And once we've finished section G, at the end of the first page, it says to go to coda, which is right at the end of the tune on second page. So we'll finish off section G with our little riff like that, and then it goes to the end of the second page. Same riff, but with double stops. I'm using my first finger for all of that. Then we've got a nice little lick coming in here, which is just using the C major scale to finish off. So what I do, I'm in 5th position here. So my pinky takes the 8th fret, my third finger takes the 7, my first finger is going to take the 5. Pinky on the 8th fret on the second string, first finger on the 5th fret of the second string, and as I'm playing that last note before the double stops coming at the end, I'm playing that F note there. I'm going to use it as a pivot so that I can get my first finger down and bar it at that 5th fret for those last 3 chords. Pivot. Oh, and then put your finger down, like that. So as long as you take it nice and slow and steady to start off with, work on getting those bar chords right, make sure you've got loads of rests, you're keeping those rests nice and neat within the tune. If you can play it all with downstrokes, that would be great. If you can't, use down and ups. It's fine for this grade. Make sure your palm mutes are nice and chunky, okay? And you're using those bars for the double stops, okay? It's easy to slide it up and down. Use your C major scale for the solo, take it nice and slow to start off with. Once you can play through the tune at about 50–60%, gradually build the speed up a few percent at a time if you've got the ability to do that on your computer. It will make it a lot easier. It is a fast tune, and in order to get it nice and neat at the full speed, you need to be able to play it nice and neatly at the slow speed first and gradually build it up. But it's not a complicated tune apart from the speed and the bar chords. Just take your time with it, hope you have fun with it, and I hope this video has helped. Thank you very much. Don't forget, if you like what you've been watching today, that you can subscribe to my channel. There's plenty more videos going to be coming up in the near future for all the Rockschool exams for both guitar and bass. There's already plenty up there as well, so hopefully you'll find something interesting to watch. You can also contact me via Facebook and Twitter. There's plenty of lessons that are available that aren't actually on YouTube. So if you contact me through there, you'll be able to find lots of information as well. There's also my website you can check out. There's plenty of lessons on there. All the details are in the description below. Now, if you're doing a Rockschool exam or any other exam on the guitar, you can contact me via Skype and I can provide you with lessons to help you along with those. I teach quite a few people all over the country at the minute who are training towards their exams, and if you need some help, I'll be able to help you too. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this interesting, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. See ya.